The sky so far, but I can't lose it.
Sim racers from around the globe, honoring a revolutionary era of open-wheel racing. With a beast not easily tamed, roaring around legendary circuits at breakneck speed. When engineers and drivers push boundaries, sometimes too far. When heroes muscled roaring beast wheel to wheel around the hallowed ground. A time when the only driver aids were his 2 feet. Perfect combination of man, machine, and speed. Experience the competition and the glory of the early 80s IndyCar action. The Lionheart Retro Series, presented by Sim Experience, starts now.
With 4 races left in the 2021 Lionheart Retro Series, the series touches down at the home of British motorsport for the very first time. The challenge today is not just a brand new track to the series, but a brand new tyre that will test drivers and show who has adapted the quickest. With 3 consecutive road races, all leading to our double-point season finale at the Auto Club Speedway, building momentum will be crucial at a fast and flowing track. This is Silverstone, and this is the GRAAFix Grand Prix of Silverstone. My name is Arjuna Kenkipati, delighted to be joined by Andrew Kinsella in the RaceSpot TV commentary booth. You can follow along with live timing and scoring powered by our partners at ATVO by heading to racespot.tv/Indy. Let's dive straight into our HyperX pre-race show, because the Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows that we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX's full line of products, visit hyperxgaming.com, and don't forget to use the promo code Lionheart15 for 15% off all orders. It's been a roller coaster of a ride so far, Andrew, and we've touched down in Silverstone. Lionheart visited here for the very first time earlier in 2021. That was a race that produced fireworks in the Dallara IR18. The Lotus 79 raced once around here. That was a long time ago, but with a brand new tire model. Who's adapted the quickest? We'll find out here today.
Thanks, Arjuna, and what a way to end this season. We've got 3 iconic road courses coming up, of course, today with Silverstone, but also Long Beach in a couple of weeks' time, and then Road America. What a way to finish off the season before our finale at Auto Club. But looking at the challenge in front of these drivers today, as you said, it's going to be definitely a challenging time here tonight. These drivers are going to have to adapt very quickly to a new tire that's going to throw a little bit of a wrench into how some of them have been driving throughout this season. So as you mentioned, whoever adapts quickest, they're going to be triumphant today. But what a track this Silverstone track is. We are on the new configuration here, so we'll have the bypass of down into that the new section with the new hairpins, adding a little bit of passing opportunities that they wouldn't have had back in the day when these cars actually went around Silverstone. But it's going to be a fabulous race here today, I think, Arjuna.
And so here's a look at that schedule. We'll be running until the middle of December. Auto Club Super Speedway Racing, we saw a thriller at Michigan last time out. That was almost a full month ago. Hard to believe just how much time has passed since that race. Here's a look at your driver's standings presented by the Sim Experience AccuForce Pro V2. Couple of months ago, couple of weeks ago even, this battle was much closer, but Matt Taylor has built up a 71-point advantage over his teammate Aaron Morgan for the Avatar Auto Racing crew. Mike Rasmussen, who did lead the championship heading into one of our last road races, that was in wine country at Sonoma, has dropped back just a little bit. But with Long Beach up next, Andrew, anything can happen at a track like that. It's completely out of your own hands at times, unless you qualify on the pole and dominate from flag to flag. This championship is still wide open, and a reminder, double points at our season finale. Even though Taylor's got a lead, he cannot be feeling comfortable. He needs momentum on his side.
All 3 drivers at the top of these standings here have been so consistent all year, Arjuna. Aaron Morgan, Mike Rasmussen, they got together in the closing stages of that race at Michigan. That's put Matt Taylor in the lead for now. But one bad race from any of these drivers and it's anybody's race. And don't forget, we are still well within the double points at the finale. With those double points, Aaron Morgan, Mike Rasmussen are still well within striking distance. This is far from over, as you say.
And, well, Taylor leads the championship standings. He also leads the rookie standings presented by Butt Kicker, and is a pretty comfortable margin he's got here. Not yet mathematically confirmed, if I did my math correctly, but after this race should very much be locked and loaded as our rookie champion. David Sirob, known as a road course racer before he stepped into the Lionheart Retro Series, was very comfortable on the road courses in the Lotus 79, but has really turned up the pace on the ovals, 3 consecutive pole positions heading into this race. But we've got someone like Michael O'Brien, one of our few pole sitters. We've had 5 road races this year, 5 different pole sitters. So plenty of excitement still to come in these rookie standings. What a strong rookie class it is. Just Taylor head and shoulders ahead of the entire field. Here's a look at your team standings. Avatar Auto Racing have been dominating here, Andrew, but there's still plenty of excitement. AeroX Racing, Lavoie Motorsports, and GRAAFix LC Motorsports, they're separated by just 14 points.
Well, when you have 1 and 2 in the championship, you better be dominating the team standings as well, and that's what Avatar Auto Racing has done this year. But as you mentioned, it's been so close among all of the rest of the field here, even down to Raven and Elite West. They have had some really strong runs as well. So it's been very impressive to watch the dynamics of this team race, especially the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. They've been swapping positions all year, and I expect that to go right down to the wire.
I hope so. That's going to be so much fun. Here's a look at our series details presented by Minus 273, the premier name in karting gloves. Their industry-leading gloves are super lightweight and durable, made of a breathable poly spandex. Whether you're a kart or a sim racer, Minus 273 gives you the control to reach victory lane. For more information on Minus 273's full line of gloves and apparel, visit minus273.biz, and don't forget to use the promo code Minus 273 LHRS15 for 15% off all orders. The 5th season that the Lotus 79 has been out in force in Lionheart competition. We're racing in a classic open wheel machine that was home to this, very comfortable I should say, at this very track. Only raced around here once. In the 2 years it was racing in Formula 1, Brands Hatch hosted the British Grand Prix the year before it came to Silverstone. Not the best of success for the Lotus 79 though, in the late 1970s. Drivers will have a custom fixed setup built by the man I'm sharing a commentary booth right now with. Andrew, tell us a little bit about how this car is going to feel here today. We were talking about how the rear tires might be the key to victory here today.
Yeah, so with this latest tire update that iRacing has put out, the balance on the car has changed fairly significantly. The rear tires, especially as the fuel starts to wear out and the car gets a little bit lighter, the rear tires will start to go away just a little bit more. There's more front wing in this car because of the balance shift, so that that compounded with the way that the tires go off makes for a very happy rear. So we could see a few mistakes here today from the drivers, especially if they haven't gotten all their practice laps in. But I expect that the top 3 in the championship will have been practicing very hard, and none of them can afford any of those mistakes. So it'll be interesting to see how particularly those 3 will adapt to this new tire and this setup here tonight.
Should be noted as well that Ryan Otis, the defending series champion, has been making an assault on the Lionheart IndyCar series. We've only seen him on a couple of occasions. He did take pole back at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. He returns here today. Can Ryan Otis be the class of the field and potentially play a little bit of spoiler in the championship hunt? Of course, everyone chasing Raven Motorsports Black in the team championship. Does look as though Avatar Auto Racing will become the new team champions. The first trip to the home of British motorsports for this Lotus 79. As mentioned, we saw the Dallara IR18 and the Lionheart IndyCar series come here earlier this summer. Plenty of drama all the way to the line in a race that Adam Blocker, the Lionheart King, came out on top. The new challenge, a new tire model. Drivers have had a full month since the last race to prepare, but the question will be who has prepared the best, who has adapted the quickest. It's a 29-lap race. Fuel window anywhere between 14 and 15 laps, Andrew, so we don't necessarily think that fuel saving is going to be required, but fuel saving could maybe get you into some clean air. Strategy might still be vital to a trip to HyperX victory lane.
Absolutely. Just because this is probably a one-stop race doesn't mean that it's going to be an easy one-stop by any means. I think that what you're going to see is a number of different strategies open up in terms of, exactly as you say, the timing of the pit stop. It's going to be very important for these drivers to maximize their time on low fuel, and that could mean for some of these drivers extending it just a little bit longer and potentially doing an undercut. And so we'll have to see how that turns out as this race unfolds.
And so 4 races left to go. Can Matt Taylor put one hand on his Retro Series championship that is waiting for him? Well, we'll wait and see. And remember, 5 different races, 5 different poles. Sage Karam, the only repeat road course winner so far. Looked at one point as though Karam's would be odds on for the title, but he had to bow out earlier this year. 4th different road course winner, that's what we're in for. Or will we see Aaron Morgan and Mike Krasmas become just the 2nd driver to win multiple road courses in 2021? Here is our venue today, Silverstone Circuit and the modern configuration. Just over 3.5 miles, under 6 kilometers in length for 29 laps of action. It's fast and flowing at times, but that new section that's been added, Andrew, through Abbey, into Farm, and into the arena section, very slow, very technical, and given how much power is on tap here, right foot traction control, I wonder how comfortable some of these drivers are feeling.
Yeah, your right foot is going to be so important through there today, Arjuna. There's multiple lines that you can take through that sort of switchback in the arena section, and we saw it to great effect in that battle between Adam Blocker and Josh Chin in the IR18. I suspect with these slightly slower cars, it's going to be even more easy for some of these drivers to maybe chuck it down the inside of that turn 3, turn 4 area. And I think that that's going to be one of the key areas of the track to master if a driver is going to be successful in victory lane at the end of tonight.
And so here's an aerial overlook at the track itself. Drivers underway for qualifying. They'll get the track all to themselves. Just under 4 minutes left on the clock, as you can see, top left portion of your screen. The time's already coming in thick and fast. It's Mike Rasmus who's put it on provisional pole. Plenty of excitement, plenty of time for things to shake up here. I tell you what, we're going to take a look at a lap around this track. We'll wait and get that lap on board with Ryan Otis, the defending series champion. In your mind, though, Andrew, there are plenty of passing opportunities here. Where would you want to get the move done? How would you set it up here at Silverstone?
Yeah, I think that the number one passing opportunity is definitely going to be into that arena section. But as you mentioned, there's a number of different places that they can attempt to move here. I'm looking at the end of that sort of infield straightaway at Brooklands, turn 6. That's going to be one area to watch out for. Stowe is another area where if you get a good enough drive through Maggots and Beckett's and Chapel and down that hanger straight, you might be able to just get a big enough draft. And then, of course, Vale, where we saw that calamity on the final lap of the IR18 race, that is going to be another zone to look for, because that is probably the biggest braking zone on the track after that arena section, and there might just be some desperation moves late in the race again today.
I think Calamity's underselling the drama that we got, but let's run around then. Silverstone with your defending champion Ryan Otis through the final corner, building up the power. Don't go too far wide. You will get an off-track penalty here on the iRacing service, but throw yourself into turn 1. Flat in other cars. Is it flat for Otis? It is, but then he has to lift off because he misses the apex, understeers wide. In towards this tricky arena section, braking just before the 50-meter board, making sure not to clip the anti-cut curves that are ready to escort you off the track if you're a little bit too aggressive with your turning, a little bit too aggressive with how hard you push the limits. Through onto this back straightaway that we've got and running yourself now in towards Brooklands. This is going to be an interesting passing opportunity because you can brake late here. 50-meter board for Ryan Otis. Look how much he'll try and cut the inside as well to set himself up for Luffield. A double apex corner if you set it up right. Look at Otis yawing on the steering wheel as he gets the power down. Rear end very, very happy to slide it around if you're not too careful. Cutting yourself to the old pit straight here. This is now flying into the old turn number 1, Cops Corner, seen a plenty of dramas. Ryan Otis has to turn in twice, pushes himself wide, but not going to get that off-track penalty that's ready to greet you on the outside of the corner. Now into the fastest and funnest corners on the track. Maggot and Beckett's. Look at Otis, foot to the floor until he gets to the second one of those corners. Down a couple of gears, maximize the exit, get on the power as smoothly as possible. Rasmus's provisional pole, Sirois less than 400th of a second behind. What can Ryan Otis do? It's going to be one and done for him with 40 seconds left on the clock. Through the off-camber apexes, Morgan goes up to seconds, 2,000ths between the first two cars. Otis into the final couple of corners, brake early, make sure you get to the inside. We saw Josh Rogers make a bold move. Ryan Otis abandons his lap. It does mean that as David Sirois reclaims a second position, the top 5 cars separated by 0.2 of a second, Andrew.
It is so close at the top of this field, and as you say, this is exactly what Mike Rasmus and Matt Taylor needed here. Aaron Morgan pushed down to P4 in the waning seconds of this, but all 3 of our championship contenders are in the top 4 spots, so it's going to be very, very close, and it's going to be a battle right from the very beginning.
Qualifying comes to a close. We're ready to race at the home of British Motorsport. Let's go trackside to take a look at our starting grid here in Silverstone. And so here is your butt kicker starting grid. The first repeat pole sitter on a road course. It's Mike Rasmus looking to bounce back after a couple of disappointing races. He won last time we went road racing at Sonoma, but 7,000ths behind is David Sirois, still searching for his first Retro Series win. Matt Taylor and Aaron Morgan, 1 and 2 in the championships. The teammates line up alongside each other on row number 2, with Michael O'Brien making it 3 of the Avatar machines in the top 5. David Rodriguez has been incredible so far since his debut midway through the campaign. Already 2 victories to his name. Can he make it a consecutive string of wins? He'll start on the outside of row number 3. Christopher Reagan and Isaac Snyder in 7th and 8th positions, with Chris Fowler and Ariel Alanis on the edge of the top 10. Trevor Malone in his teal number 34 car will be alongside Jean-Francois Matt for Lavoie Motorsports. Alex Guyon right behind his teammate in 13th alongside Ricky Harden, hoping not to be hard in the wall here today. DJ Clark alongside Robert Mikes, row number 8. Nick DeGroot and Craig Forsyth 17th and 18th positions, while Ryan Otis, Richie Hearn, no qualifying lap time set for them. Tyler Graf will be up in race control, not out there on the track here today. So 29 laps on the board and we are ready to rumble. Before we get to our green flag though, let's walk you through our featured onboards here today. First, it's Mike Razmas, the pole sitter. GRAAFix Esports, world-class design from the real world to virtual. Visit GRAAFixEsports.com. Another front row onboard camera, it's David Sirrell with the HyperX onboard. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers, and HyperX is always ready to game. Ariel Alanis has your butt kicker onboard camera on the edge of the top 10. What you see and what you hear is what you feel. For more information, visit thebuttkicker.com. And alongside him is Chris Fowler with the Chris Fowler Racing onboard. Join Chris on his sim racing journey through his live streams. Visit Fowler Racing on Twitch. And of course, it's not just those 4 cars, but all 20 of our runners here today that will have onboard cameras, but we are ready to race. The run to the championship continues here in Silverstone. 4 races left and 3 consecutive road courses, all building to a double point finale in Auto Club. Competition, commitment, excitement. This is Lionheart, and this is the GRAAFix Grand Prix of Silverstone. Through the final corner they come, and we are racing as Mike Razmas takes the green flag. Away we go in Silverstone. It's a good launch from Razmas. Sirrah gets a good launch as well. Morgan cycles in front of Matt Taylor. That is crucial. Couple of cars pushing the limits, almost 3 wide on the entry into the arena section. It's a bold move from David Rodriguez, who's looking to the inside of Michael O'Brien. Reagan wants to take advantage. Snyder, though, is going to set the run up onto this back straightaway. Gets a little bit squiggly. Fowler down his inside. Clean start to this race, Andrew. Oh, look at that, though. Fowler very, very wide. Avoids doing a Kimi Räikkönen, still pointed in the right direction.
We had a few cars on the exit of the arena section there go a little bit wide. Ricky Harden nearly got sideways there, but up front, it is looking really good, especially for Mike Razmas. He's already starting to pull ahead just a little bit on the other competitors, but great start from Aaron Morgan. It's exactly what he needed. He got in front of his teammate. This is exactly where he needs to stay for the rest of this race, especially with his rival for that second spot in the championship right now. Mike Razmas leading the race. Exactly what Aaron Morgan needed to do.
I wonder how much mental focus is going to come into play here, because it's a very tricky car to manage, and especially when it gets lighter, it does tend to become a little bit faster, Andrew. And that's what we've seen in prior years here in this Lotus 79. How has that changed, though, with this new tire model?
It definitely still does get faster as the run goes on, especially these tires do take a few laps to really heat up and come into their own. So the first few laps especially, you're going to notice these times pick up faster and faster and faster. So that aspect of this car does remain the same, but it just has a little bit more grip at the beginning, so it is a little bit better in that. You can see that these guys are racing really tight here, and that is a little bit because of this new tire model is making it just a little bit easier to get around people right now.
Lap 1 in the books. Razmas leads. Sirrah, Morgan, Taylor, and O'Brien the top 5 positions. Snyder and Reagan have been dueling back and forth, but Snyder with a good move around the outside of Stowe Corner. His off-camber can be very tricky to pinch down on the inside, but the pink and white gets it done. The purple and silver relegated then to 8th position. 20 drivers. It's our smallest starting field so far in 2021, but still lots of excitement with some of the fastest drivers that we've seen over the course of the season. We saw, of course, Richie Hearn with a superb pole position back at Phillip Island. He's all the way down in 19th position. Gives you an indication of just how strong this field can be. Of course, Hearn did not qualify, but maybe that was a mistake in qualifying. Ariel Alanis feeling the pressure from Trevor Malone. Maloney looks pretty strong this past Monday until things came unstuck with an untimely caution for him in the Lionheart Speedway Series, Andrew.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate incident for a number of drivers in that Speedway Series. Strategy really played a big part in that race, and a great win from Alexis Newsom to really assert her dominance and her authority, I should say, on the championship in the Speedway Series. But here in the Retro Series, completely different animal from Richmond. Of course, no cautions here on a road course, so these drivers don't have to worry about that. Despite the fact that there are no cautions, even this early in the race, we are seeing that there's still very close action throughout this field.
Some cars trying to break away, but just not really working out as through the final corner, Ryan Otis really looking for the limits of the track. And iRacing has an automated race control system that's always monitoring your willingness to follow the rules, as it were, and there's a bonus point on offer for drivers who manage to stay within the bounds of the track. So always important to keep your eye on that, because it will determine, get an extra point. David Sirwell last time around, fastest lap of the race, it was a 1:49.082. Have a feeling that's going to get quicker and quicker though as we continue to run. Trevor Malone behind him, Alex Guyon getting a little bit wide, might open the door for his Lavoie Motorsports teammate to come back at him. These two have swapped around on the initial race start. They'll work their way down in towards that left-hand sweeper. Brooklyn, such a heavy braking zone, but can really cut a lot of the inside curve. Nothing really doing for now. Meanwhile, out front, the separation is starting to build. It's half a second between Sirwa and Razmas, so Sirwa doing a good job to close on the car that's third in the championship, but now 1.5 seconds back to Aaron Morgan. This is what Razmas would have wanted. Don't think, though, that Sirwa is going to make his life so comfortable. Yes, he knows Razmas is fighting for the championship, but we've seen the Canadian comes oh so close to victory in the last couple of races.
I was going to say, Rasmus might like the gap that he's pulled on Morgan and Taylor right now, but he can't be too thrilled about having David Sirwa that close to him. David Sirwa's proven time and time again that, especially on road courses, he's very, very strong. So having a driver like that right behind you, it does keep your wits about you this early in the race, but I'm sure that he could probably say that he could use maybe another half a second or so of gap from Rasmus back to Sirwa.
Looking rearwards from the race leader as across the line. 3 laps now in the books at our inaugural race here in Silverstone for these Lotus 79s. Looking rearwards, of course, with our GRAAFix Esports onboard camera. And weather conditions, we should probably talk a little bit about them, because the bigger the variability over the course of the race, the more drivers have to adapt. But when it's 25 degrees in the air and 41 degrees on the track, that's not necessarily the adaptability we're going to be talking about, Andrew. Instead, it's those 13 kilometer an hour, gusts of wind. Always very difficult to make sure you have that car on the edge of limit, on the edge of the grip, I should say, while also making sure that the wind's not changing on you constantly. That's especially true on a car like the Lotus 79, where the aerodynamics aren't quite as predictable as some of the modern Indy cars are. So you do find that the wind conditions does affect this car maybe just a little bit more than the modern cars, where they're a little bit better suited and have maybe a little bit more mechanical grip in terms of just the fundamental car itself. In these cars, the wind can really sort of buffet them around a fair bit, and it does present a very big challenge for these drivers to overcome as this race unfolds. And we're definitely seeing a lot of give and take. Drivers pushing a little bit too hard, they get punished by losing some time. That gap between Razmas and Sirwa now up to 9/10 of a second. Morgan trying to close on the car in second position. David Rodriguez really love the paint scheme that he's got back there. RSR Esports always have a wonderful livery, but of course it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so no green for Rodriguez here in October, instead running the pink. It was a dramatic victory for him last time. Strategy played out perfectly at the Michigan International Speedway. Still believe he's under investigation for fuel tank modifications at the Iowa Speedways. Ooh, in toward the final chicane. That is Isaac Snyder that's gone around. Rodriguez, we were just talking about him, punches in the fastest lap of the race. Yeah, unfortunate incident here with Snyder. Just got a little bit loose, has a little bit of front wing damage as well. That shouldn't affect him too badly.
but it will have a little bit of an effect, especially this early in the race. It will give him time to adapt, but at the same time, it's never good to lose that many positions this early in the race. He's got a long road ahead of him. As we see, he just gets in a little bit too far in the Vale, tries to cut the corner, and then he was just basically too hot through the entire chicane there, Arjuna, and just clips that sausage curb on the inside of the corner there, and around he goes.
Hop, skip, and a jump for the 13. That's what I was saying, those anti-cut curbs, very, very easy. He has to back himself up as well to get turned around and pointed back out onto track. So for Snyder, was looking good, but he really had been very aggressive, as now he's side by side with Ricky Harding. That's down the field in towards Copse. Harding has to concede for now, but don't think that Harding's not going to try and fight this one back. He might have to watch in his mirrors, because Craig Forsyth got a monster run through Copse corner and around the outside. Forsyth gets it done on the entry. You do not want to be too wide through Maggots and Beckett's. Back out front, though, gap continues to go back and forth. Sirois now still half a second behind, but he's brought Morgan, he's brought Taylor, he's brought O'Brien with him. Razmas really not being able to pull away. When we last went road course racing in Sonoma, Razmas and Taylor were able to stretch their legs and dominate in that one. I don't think, given the importance of draft here, Andrew, we're going to see the same thing.
Draft is very important, and the other thing that's very difficult about Silverstone is making sure that you're hitting your apexes lap after lap. It's very difficult, especially on some of these apexes. If you miss the turn-in by a matter of inches, you can find yourself 2 or 3 feet away from your from the apex by the time you get to it, because especially like at turn 6 here, as we watch them come down this straight, it's a very, very late apex, late turn-in. So if you're just a little bit off on that turn-in, you can find yourself losing 2-3 tenths of a second even through that corner. So what you're going to see is just lap after lap, it's very hard to be as consistent as you need to be to go fast. So the gaps will fluctuate a lot between these top drivers here.
And consistency is really what develops the best drivers here on the iRacing service. That's what we've seen from Adam Blocker in his quest for a 4th consecutive IndyCar title. Top 5 streak that dates back to last September in the IndyCars. Averaging a podium every single race so far in 2021. It is absolutely unbelievable, the consistency, the quality of the performances that Adam Blocker has put in, even when, because of his trackside duties with the NTT IndyCar Series, he's not racing from home. Here's a look at your HyperX onboard. It's getting closer and closer out front. Now down to 4 tenths of a second. Razmas a little bit hot on the entry. That will check him up. Sirois going to be well and truly on his chuff as we head into the final couple of corners. Watch out. If Sirois can get a good opening couple of corners here, would not be surprised if he's able to pull alongside into Brooklands and try a move.
Yeah, this is probably the closest Sirois has been so far this race, within 4 tenths of a second now, and he is really closing in on the back of Mike Rasmus. I have a feeling that it might not happen this lap, but within the next couple of laps, you're going to start to see Mike Rasmus sweat just a little bit more, and David Sirois just cranks up that pressure.
Should also be noted that Ryan Otis has been on a charge, +7 so far today, already in 12th. He's about 12 seconds behind this leading group of cars, so after not sending that qualifying lap, I wonder if, because he's just here for some fun, elected to bail out and to work his way up through the pack and really challenge himself and build some racecraft, because these cars are a wonderful tool to build up your ability to set up passes, to work wheel to wheel. That gap now between Morgan and Sirois once more just growing and creeping upwards. They're starting to build a buffer to O'Brien and Rodriguez behind. The fastest lap has been trading hands back and forth. Last time around it was Matt Taylor with a 48.727 that took the fastest lap, and based on our timing screens, I believe Taylor is half a second up on his pace so far, so might even be going faster. So interesting to see just how quickly these cars are burning off the fuel and going faster and faster. This time around, Sirois loses out through Maggots and Beckett, but Taylor gets a great run down the hangar straight, just a little bit too far as they climb their way up into Stowe. No lead changes so far. I get the sneaking suspicion Razmas is feeling comfortable enough. We might have to wait till the pit cycle to see an actual change for the lead.
Yeah, I think that not only is Rasmus feeling comfortable, but I think all four of these drivers right now are sort of comfortable with how this is going right now. If I'm Matt Taylor, I'm thinking, I don't really need to pass Aaron Morgan at this point. I don't need to take a risk because I can see the leader. He's less than a second and a half in front of me. So as where Matt Taylor is in the championship right now, he's got to be thinking, just put in these laps, save some fuel, save the car. This isn't the time to be pressing too hard. Save that for later in the race. And as long as he's in contact with Mike Rasmus, that's job done, at least for the beginning of this race.
Ryan Otis punches in the fastest lap. This time it's a 48.684. 4 cars out front separated by 1.5 seconds. Michael O'Brien needs to get a hurry on, otherwise he is going to be left back in the pack. Should be noted, Nick de Groot not been enjoying the best of days so far. He's down on pit road, electing to come down, and might be day done for the motorsports.com editor. For de Groot, we've seen him in action as well in speedway competitions. As up and over, Isaac Snyder gets mixed up once more, but it's the GSRC commentator DJ Clark that goes up and over Isaac Snyder.
Yeah, that was a big incident there between DJ Clark and Isaac Snyder. It looks like DJ Clark, I think, lost it first. It looks like he had a little bit of damage, maybe from a previous off. Coming through Woodfield here, he goes to turn into the corner, loses the back end, and Isaac Snyder nowhere to go. He tried to go around the outside. Clark rolled back. Snyder nowhere to go, and unfortunately that's even more damage for Isaac Snyder.
So watch here, you can see he's already a little bit loose, but then as he comes through the corner trying to get the power down, not much Snyder could really do there, and fortunate that DJ Clark didn't land on Snyder. Of course, that's where the aero screen would have come in very effective. Great thing about the iRacing service, though, crashes are just virtual. We don't have to worry about anything happening to our drivers. Snyder's car looking much worse for the wear. He'll have to come down on pit road. We'll see if he'll continue with this race. Ryan Otis now up to 11th as he disposes of Alex Guyon. Last time around, Taylor went even faster, a 48.543. That is about a tenth and a half faster than Mike Rasmus out front, but given the gaps that we're seeing, Taylor's going to have to push just a little bit harder to try and make something happen, but you'll see these 4 cars really have compressed up. If you're Taylor here, I know you said that you're somewhat content. How aggressive do you want to go, knowing you do have a full race victory between you and the rest of your championship rivals, Andrew?
I think rather than aggressive, I'm looking to be opportunistic, Arjuna. I think that's the right word for the mentality Matt Taylor has to have. He has to be ready, especially because Aaron Morgan will be looking to try and get around David Sirwa as soon as he can, get up into that second position and really attack Mike Rasmus. But that also will open up Aaron Morgan to potential errors and give the opportunity to Matt Taylor as we see him get very close through Maggots and Beckett's here. And this might actually set up a move here.
I think he was a little bit too close, almost ran into the rear heading into the final part of that chicane at Beckett's and had to wait to get the power down. Morgan holds on for the time being. Let's go ahead and see what else has happened out on track, because I think, unfortunately, as Ryan Otis now gets past Trevor Malone easily even before they get down into Stowe Corner, for Richie Hearn, has there been another issue in through Brooklands. He's behind the 82 machine of Jean-Francois Matt, so maybe a little bit of dirty air goes around, and, well, Richie Hearn's internet not known for its consistency. Now, Richie Hearn, a driver that we have seen consistency from. This time it's Michael O'Brien that goes fastest, trying to close on that car, those grouping of cars out front, but David Rodriguez well and truly now on the rear end of Michael O'Brien. Still 6 cars separated by just 3 seconds. Incredible, Andrew.
Absolutely incredible driving from all of our leaders right now. Michael O'Brien and David Rodriguez, not necessarily known to be the fastest on road courses, but they're doing a fabulous job at the back of this pack. Very, very similar to Taylor. They'll just be sort of sitting here waiting, watching, probably saving a little bit of fuel. It's very difficult once you get 4th, 5th in line to really get a good run here. Because of just how strong the cars in front of you will be receiving a draft as well. So I think that so far they've run a very nice, clean race, and as long as they can stay in that draft of Matt Taylor, they stand a very good chance of having a very, very good finish at the end of this thing.
And let's talk a little bit about our championship leader. He debuted at Sonoma last year, so About 12 months ago, 23 starts since then, 16 top 10s. That is great consistency. 13 top 5s. 4 wins to his name. He has been strong here in 2021. First win last year at Motegi. Managed then to win once more at Motegi this year, and that set him on fire. The couple of weeks after that, won at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and then at the Worldwide Technology Raceway, the last time we went short track racing on the speedways. Took his 3rd victory on the campaign to build up his championship hopes. But it's not just in Retro Series competition that we've seen him be strong. Unfortunately for him, as he'll go faster this time around as well with a 48.297. Unfortunately for him, Andrew, his Speedway Series championship hopes went over a bit of a road bump this past Monday when things kind of escalated in the closing stages and Taylor took some significant damage. But he's strong in the DW12. He's also strong in the IR18, where he's really been putting on a good performance in that IndyCar series.
Yeah, and pulling triple duty is never easy. It takes a lot of effort to prepare yourself for one race a week in the Lionheart series, given how good the competition is. So preparing yourself as well as Taylor does for 3 separate competitions, sometimes even in the same week, it's really impressive. And I do want to say, like, Taylor, he has all 4 wins on the ovals, but you can quite clearly see he is no slouch on the road courses either by the job that he is doing today.
Well, I definitely agree, but let's go take a look at a couple of replays here. First, it's Chris Fowler heading into the arena section. This new section that was added when Silverstone got reconfigured, and that's why Chris Reagan has that significant rear end damage. Reagan loses the rear end. There's going to be another contact here, isn't it? Oh, Ariel Alanis, I think, almost just side T-bones Chris Reagan, and that's a bit of a bizarre one. Let's take one more look at this, Andrew, and talk us through what happens here.
Yeah, it's a bit of a messy rejoin here from Chris Reagan. He gets into this turn 4 arena corner. He just gets a little bit loose on the rear end. Car comes around, and then he tries to spin it around quickly, but unfortunately he goes straight back in front of a whole bunch of cars there. And it does look like Ariel Alanis. I'm not sure, there might have been a little bit of netcode contact prediction going on, because I don't think Alanis actually touched him. But at the same time, it was just ill-advised move to spin around like that. He probably should have waited until this group of cars got through, and he's probably got the worst of that out of the 3 drivers involved there.
Unfortunate, and Ryan Otis almost got cleaned out there as well. Otis now on the back of Chris Fowler, who was mixed up in that. I wonder if there's some damage to the number 20 machine. Down this back straightaway in towards Brooklands once more. Sirwa a little bit closer. Taylor a little bit further behind than we've been seeing these last couple of laps. Can Taylor close that gap up in his black HyperX machine? Here's that move that we were waiting for. Is Otis going to look to the inside of Fowler heading in towards Brooklands? A little bit too far behind as your defending series champion back in action for only the 2nd time in 2021, if I'm remembering correctly. Chris Reagan, Trevor Malone squabbling behind as they'll be side by side in towards turn 6 and through Luffield as well. Malone on the inside gets the power down very smoothly, gets the move done as well. Meanwhile, to the inside, Ryan Otis trying to get it done through Kopp's corner. Fowler almost runs into his rear wing, but Otis gets the move done.
Very close stuff from Otis and Fowler there, but really respectful racing. Good job from Ryan Otis. That's not necessarily the place that you would think was a traditional passing area here at Silverstone. There's not a lot of braking that goes on into Kopp's corner, so Ryan really had to make sure that he had that move essentially completed before they got to the corner. He did that, and Fowler let him have just enough room. I think Fowler knows that Otis at this stage of the race is probably faster than he is, and he's probably looking to maybe see if he can draft along just a little bit and use Ryan Otis right now to stretch his gap over the likes of Ariel Alanis and Alex Guillon behind him.
Malone and Reagan still side by side for a moment there as David Rodriguez punches in the fastest lap. That's the clear indication that as the fuel burns off, the cars go faster. Rodriguez a 48.245 last time around. Great to see that Chris Reagan is able to hold on despite that damage that he's got. You would suspect that when he comes down into pit road in just a couple of laps time, he'll be held there a little bit longer. Some damage definitely going to be repaired here. It is a party at the front, though. It's now 6 cars separated by 2.5 seconds. Matt Taylor dropping back has brought Michael O'Brien, David Rodriguez into this fight. right side of the screen, we'll take a look at the live points situation. And because Razmas is out front, he will leapfrog Aaron Morgan up into second position in the championship. Matt Taylor's gap still at a comfortable 60 points, but when we say comfortable, that is one race victory separating first and second. With Long Beach up next, anything can happen. We'll be at Road America after that. 2 weeks until Long Beach. A week after that will be Road America. Things are still wide open. Sirwa Fowler close for 4th and 5th as well. O'Brien, if he can get a good result here, still has a chance of 4th in this championship.
Yeah, there's stuff to play for throughout the top of this championship and the top of this race. Absolutely, O'Brien has to know as well that David Sirwa, who is one of the drivers that he is fighting, is in front of him. So not only do we have this battle between the top 3 in the championship in this top 6 in the race, but we also have a battle for the 4th, 5th, and 6th position. And Fowler definitely not having the race he needs, given how well Sirwa and O'Brien are doing.
Some great camera shots courtesy of Dougie Beard as David Rodriguez faster once more, a 48.080. We've been burning off the fuel now almost 1 second quicker than when we started this race. Aaron Morgan almost knocks down David Sirwa's rear wing. He's setting up the move coming out of the arena section. Can he get the power down nicely? Yes, he does in the draft, and now working themselves down this Wellington straight. Sirwa's going to try and cover him off. Can Morgan lunge to the inside? He's going to think better of it. But now sets up in towards Luffield. This is some great respectful racing. Question is, when will fireworks go off here in Silverstone? Remember, 14 to 15 laps the fuel window with a 29-lap race. You want to try and extend your run to at least lap 15, maybe even longer if you can try and get some clean air. We know you go faster the less fuel you have. And because these were bias ply tires, you do not expect drivers to be changing tires in the pit road. That pit cycle, therefore, just about the fuel and minimizing your time on the pit lane in what is a very slow pit lane, one of the slowest pit lanes across the iRacing service, out of Maggots and Beckett's. These cars separated by 2 seconds now. Incredible stuff.
Absolutely incredible action. You can see even amongst this group here as well, Arjuna, these guys are trying all sorts of different lines to try and maybe get just that little bit of advantage, get that little bit closer, a little bit more air on their wings. So it's been fascinating to watch these different lines, different approaches to many of these corners. You really notice it in some of the slower hairpins where everyone is just trying to do something a little bit different, get any advantage they can. And it's very important, especially as we get into these pit stops, that these drivers stay as close as they can to the cars in front, because as you know, getting in and off of pit lane in one of these cars with no rev limiter, no electronic aids whatsoever, it's a difficult proposition, and these guys will be pushing it to the limit as they come down on pit road here very soon.
Ryan Otis almost does a 147 6,000ths off as a 148.006, our new fastest lap of the race. DJ Clark becomes our second retirement. Isaac Snyder the first 6 laps ago. In towards turn 6 for what might be the final time in this first cycle of the race. Sirwa all over the back of Razmas. Razmas has led, not uncontested so far, but unchallenged at the front. Sirwa hasn't thrown any wild and bold moves. Will things change this time around? If you're one of these drivers, Andrew, if you're Matt Taylor, for example, do you have enough fuel to try and go one more lap? The overcut, I think, really will be strong here.
Yeah, I think if Taylor's been smart, he does have another lap of fuel in him. But it really is, in this car, very dependent on that right foot of yours. So if Matt Taylor has been a little bit too heavy on that right foot, he might not have another lap in him. But if he has been smart and has just been easing off the gas and using the draft to great effect, then he very well could have that advantage of going one lap further than the rest of his competitors.
Here we go. We're about to find out. To the right they go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All down onto pit road. Can they do it safely? No, they can't. Morgan runs into the back of David Sirwa. Question will be, is there damage to Sirwa's machine? Will he also get a speeding penalty from having increased his speed as a result of the contact?
I think that's the main question right now, Arjuna. I don't think that the impact was heavy enough to really cause Sirwa too much damage, but that speeding penalty could be very, very problematic for him. And it'll be interesting to see if there is a penalty here, what race control will have to say about it as well.
So here they come into the stalls. Not up on the jacks, but fuel going into their cars. Questions about to be answered. The entire field is down. Sirois, no penalty, but it's a slow stop for him. Just about manages to come out in front of his competitors. But Razmas already gone. 1 second the gap. It will be building as well. They'll come into the arena section. Their tires will be a little bit colder. Is this the opportunity for Morgan to cycle in front of Sirois, get the power down nicely out of the arena section, sweep your way through turn number 5? Morgan just a little bit too far behind.
Yeah, this is exactly the opportunity that both Matt Taylor and Aaron Morgan need, because David Sirois is that little bit further behind Mike Rasmus right now. That means that he won't have the same type of draft that he did before, but at the same time he will still be in a little bit of dirty air, so he won't quite have the performance through the corners that say Mike Rasmus has, that performance advantage as the lead car. So this is Aaron Morgan and Matt Taylor's shot to get around David Sirois. They have to do it very quickly though, because we've seen that Sirois is fast in this car, especially as the run goes on, and he should be able to get back towards Mike Rasmus as the run goes on.
It's 1.6 seconds that advantage. Be curious to see if Sirois can close on up. Inconsistent at times, but clearly rapid here at Silverstone. What's the draft look like here, Andrew? Is Razmas being able to break out? Is it going to require some qualifying laps in effect from David Sirois to close on up?
Yeah, Mike Rasmus has definitely broken the draft at this point, so Sirois is going to have to be very, very careful here. He's got a hungry Aaron Morgan. Oh, and Sirois is in the pits again here.
That is confusing, to say the very least. The only thing I can suspect is he sped on the exit of pit lane trying to stay in front of the rest of his competitors. That is heartbreaking for David Sirois then. It does mean Razmas is clear and in control. The 3 championship protagonists now will sit on the podium positions.
They sit in the podium positions, but Mike Rasmus is now 2 seconds in front of Aaron Morgan, so he now has a fairly substantial advantage over his competitors. And because he did go as far as he did on that first stint, and he went the same number of laps, it means that he probably doesn't have to do any fuel saving whatsoever here. So it's a very distinct possibility, Arjuna, that he was saving a little bit of fuel, and that's why he kept everything so compacted during that first stint. Right now, Mike Rasmus is showing a lot of speed out there on his own, so it'll be interesting to see if Aaron Morgan and Matt Taylor can respond, and exactly which one of the 2 teammates will be the one to do the response.
And what's rule number 1 in racing? Don't hit your teammate. These 2 have to remember they cannot afford to trip over one another. Does mean, though, that Razmas a little bit more comfortable than he was in the first stint of this race. He's got 13 laps to go to win his 2nd race in 2021. Close in that championship gap, but as a result of Sirois having dropped off, Morgan already looking trying to break the draft. Taylor's to the inside. Morgan's going to let him through.
Yeah, I think Morgan made a mistake coming through Chapel there, and I think he had a slowdown penalty there, Arjuna. So that's why Matt Taylor was able to get by him so easily.
He's still slowing. He's still slowing. Sorry, Andrew, but O'Brien to the inside. Morgan might finally have cleared it, but it might be too late if Morgan can get the power down. Rodriguez trying to pounce and take full advantage. It's not going to matter. Morgan clearly has that slowdown cleared at this point in time, but it's a costly one. He's also out of the drafting range. Let's go ahead and turn our attention to what happened there and see if we can pick up that off track that gave him. It wouldn't have been that one. You can run wide without taking a slowdown penalty. It will invalidate your bonus point. Watch here. Does he cut one of these curbs a little too aggressively?
So I believe that it's right here on the exit. He just goes a little bit too far. He's all the way off the track, and he's on the inside through the curb there. So that will give you a penalty right there, Arjuna. So it was through Chapel as he turned on to Hanger Straight. That is exactly what happened. That's where he made the mistake, and that could be a very, very costly mistake in terms of his championship hopes.
And we'll take one more look at those championship standings, because it does mean that's now 8 points. Having to do math as a commentator, especially when you're talking, is tough. But 8 points between Razmas and Morgan, so the 3-point deficit has now been turned to an advantage by Razmas. But because Taylor has cycled his way up to the front, He's now a full race victory once more in front of Mike Razmas. So it's worked out in Taylor's favor. I think Taylor is going to be pretty, I wouldn't say happy, but content with second place here.
Yeah, I definitely think that Taylor will be content with the race as it's going so far. I think that the person who's going to be most bothered by this right now is Aaron Morgan, and he's been showing the last few laps that he's really pressing really, really hard. He sees the race sort of slipping away from him right now, and I think he's just got to do his best to calm himself down just a little bit. He's shown that he's been very fast throughout this race, but when you get into that mentality of sort of pressing a little bit too hard, that's when you start making the mistakes. That's when you miss those apexes where you run wide. So if he can just rein that in just a little bit, there's still a lot of time left in the race. He's still got 10 laps to go. He needs to bring it back and focus forward on Matt Taylor and getting back and past his teammate here. I
said never trust a commentator's math 11 laps ago, Andrew, I think, if I've done my math correctly.
Yes, you're correct.
Trust me, I've done that more times than I care to admit. You'll also see on the right side of your screen that because of Sirois' misfortune, and I'm sure it was a little bit of just frustration coming to him on that exit of pit lane, he's now dropped behind Fowler. Fowler's not having the best of runs. We've seen him be very quick on a road course, but he's coming under pressure from Ariel Alanis. There's only about half a second separating 7th and 8th positions right now as they work their way onto the Wellington Straight and down in towards Brooklands. Michael O'Brien, if he can get a good result here, is still in with a chance of 4th, but it's going to take some misfortune, maybe even some bad luck for either Fowler, either Sirah. Sirah's already having a little bit of bad luck here today. Chris Reagan, who is now battling with Richie Hearn, as Richie Hearn's had an issue of his own. The number 70 machine lights up his rear tires as he tries to get back on track. Not the first time we've seen Hearn having issues, I think, through Brooklands.
Yeah, I believe it might even be a mirror image of what he did about this point in the stint last time as well. So it looks like Richie didn't quite learn the lesson from the first time that he did it. Yeah, just a little bit too much steering input too early in the corner. It upset the back of the car, and just around he goes. This time he wasn't able to continue quite as quickly as the last time. I believe he actually went out of it pointed straight last time. But yeah, it's very easy to do in this car because the steering is very direct, and so if you go a little bit too hard through that corner, it's very easy to do what he did. So definitely not something to be ashamed of for Richie, but it has put him behind the 8 ball a little bit.
Clearly it's your fault as the builder of all things setups here in the Lionheart Racing Series. 10 laps ago in Silverstone and the inaugural race for the Lotus 79s in the Lionheart Retro Series. Don't go anywhere. More action here to come on RaceSpot TV. Welcome back to Racepot TV and round 15 coverage in the Lionheart Retro Series. We're at the home of British Motorsports for the GRAAFix Grand Prix of Silverstone. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, alongside is another AK, Andrew Kinsetta, maker of all things setup for the Lionheart IndyCar Series. Don't forget you can follow along with live timing and scoring by heading to racepot.tv/Indy. Follow your favorite team and drivers courtesy of our partners at ATVO. Close battle for third. First and second have run away up the field. Remember, of course, Aaron Morgan, Michael O'Brien are teammates, but they've got to watch out for a ever-hungry David Rodriguez looking for a move, but plenty of racing still to go. It's been an exciting first trip to Silverstone for the Lotus 79s, Andrew.
The action has been fast and furious on this track. It's been so close throughout this entire race, and these three on screen right now, Aaron Morgan and Michael O'Brien and David Rodriguez, they have been in the thick of things throughout this race. Unfortunately for Aaron Morgan, I don't think that this second stint has gone the way he's really wanted it to go. He's now 6 seconds back of the leader, Mike Rasmus, 4 seconds back of his teammate. So this isn't the second stint he was hoping for, as I think we just see a pass.
No, Rodriguez thought about it, but
he thought about it.
That's a tough place to get the move done, around the outside of turn number 3. That would take a much bolder man than myself to get the move done. O'Brien does have to be careful. He knows that Morgan is still embroiled in a title fight, does not want to get mixed up with his teammate. Before it was Taylor and Morgan, the two teammates that we were worried about coming to blows. This time it's Morgan and O'Brien. Different lines being taken. That's the beauty of this car and the racing that we've seen so far. O'Brien gets a great run, though, out of Luffield onto the former start-finish straight. He's going to cut the track as aggressively as he can. He'll look to the inside, in towards Kopp's corner. Side by side they run. O'Brien going to try and go to the inside, but around the outside, Morgan holds on strong. Rodriguez wants to pounce and take full advantage. He'll come to the inside of O'Brien. No changes, but plenty of excitement.
Very nice racing from all three of them. I think that O'Brien was probably being a little bit too cautious there, not wanting to get into his teammate and affect the championship fight, and it put him right into the clutches of David Rodriguez, and David Rodriguez is not done with Michael O'Brien right now, Arjuna.
Up the hill in towards Stowe. It's off camber, very tricky. You can see pushing wide, trying to make sure they don't run that little bit too wide, get that off-track incident that would deprive them of a potential bonus point. Deep under the brakes for David Rodriguez. We've seen cars go airborne already from those anti-cut curves, so these drivers have to be very, very careful coming in towards the closing stages. I should also note that we have seen here on the iRacing service some rather bold moves down into that final complex in through Vale and Club Corner. I distinctly remember at the end of last year, the undisputed king of all things sim racing, Josh Rogers, threw it 3 wide on Graham Carroll and Max Benecke. I still don't believe how he got it done. He knew somehow, mystically, that Carroll and Benecke wouldn't come to blows. Rogers to the inside. Rogers took $12,000 home as a result. These three drivers, though, putting on just as much of a show for us here. Incredible stuff. And at one point, it baffles my mind that we saw 6 cars, Andrew, 6 cars separated by just 2 seconds.
Yeah, it was really incredible racing, seeing all those cars that close on the track. It's very, very, very difficult to be that close for that long. You're under a tremendous amount of pressure, especially if you're in the middle of a pack like that. You have pressure in front of you and behind you. You're trying to put the pressure on the car in front of you, force them to make a mistake, but at the same time, you can't be the one making the mistake because the car behind you will pounce. Just like we saw David Rodriguez get so close to Michael O'Brien through that corner there, just simply because O'Brien let off a little bit early through Kopp's, and it's put Rodriguez right there. So just one small mistake can result in a pass in a situation like this. So you're basically on pins and needles the entire time when you're in a pack like this.
I do think as well we're on course for our shortest race in 2021 in the Lionheart Retro Series. This race is flying on by. This time around, I think it's going to be 6 laps to go. Great camera shot as through the final chicane, avoid that anti-cut curb with all your might. Mike Rasmus out front and in control. First driver to pop below the 1:48. Incredible. A 1:47.983. It's only 1/10 faster, though, than Matt Taylor. So both of the championship guys out front putting on a show. Morgan knows he cannot afford to make any sort of a mistake. Last time around for Morgan, it was a 48.728, almost a full second slower than your race leader. At one point, Morgan, 2 seconds back. He's now 8 seconds adrift. If I'm Rodriguez, I must be starting to get a little bit frustrated here.
Absolutely, especially with the two teammates in front of him. I think he knows that O'Brien isn't trying too hard to get by Morgan. He knows that O'Brien maybe take the opportunistic move, like we saw him trying to cops the one time, but at the same time, he's really not putting too much pressure on Aaron Morgan right now. So David Rodriguez knows that if he wants to get further up in this race, he's not only got to get by one Avatar driver, he's got to get by two at this point. So he's been very good through cops, and Michael O'Brien, that's his weak spot. So what David Rodriguez has really got to do is nail Maggots Beckett's through here and really have a good exit through Chapel and on a hanger. And one of these times, I think Rodriguez is going to take advantage of Michael O'Brien's weakness through that part of the track.
But he's running out of time. Laps are ticking away, just about 30 kilometers left for these drivers. 4 races to go, 3 after this one. It is 3 consecutive road courses. 2 weeks from now, we'll be racing on the streets of Long Beach. That is going to be absolutely chaotic. And given that we've seen pack racing with this Lotus 79 on speedways, as Matt Taylor goes faster this time around, it's a 47.829. Given that we've seen pack racing, I still think that Long Beach is going to be the most chaotic race we've had here in 2021.
Especially with the new tire model and the rear being so lively, you have to be inch perfect on a street circuit to get the maximum time. So these drivers will be pushing the limit to the max, but with a tail-happy car that with this new tire model that it seems to be, it's going to be a very strong test of all of these drivers' mettle, and it will be very interesting to see who takes the risks and who goes for that big reward, but potentially also takes a big loss as well.
I do wonder, Andrew, how this car is going to race at Long Beach, given that it derives most of its aerodynamic performance and indeed most of its speed with ground effects. Over the bumps at Long Beach, you will see that ground effect getting disrupted quite a bit. So it's going to... This car always keeps drivers on its toes. I think that's an understatement. But Jean-Francois Matz had a bit of a tumble. I think this is through, and yeah, it's through the arena section. Long Beach is very much going to keep the drivers on their tippy toes and waiting almost for the inevitable disaster. Here was disaster for the Lavoie Motorsports car. Oh, Alex Guyon almost ran over his teammate there, who goes sideways and spinning around.
Yeah, Long Beach is definitely one of those tracks where it's not a question of if there will be an incident, it's a question of when and how big the incident will be. But at the same time, it's a really fun track to drive. The nice thing about Long Beach is you do have that really long straightaway where this car will be able to stretch its legs just a little bit. At the same time, because of how much downforce it's probably going to have to run there, the top speed won't be too hard, but the draft, won't be too high, but the draft will be in full effect there. So I think that you're going to see some very spectacular passes going into turn 1, especially in 2 weeks' time at Long Beach.
I did go and take a look at the results as Michael O'Brien, that's that different line. It's been worrying me lap after lap just how aggressive he is on the exit of the arena. Manages to avoid getting into the back of his teammate, might open the door for Rodriguez. Down the Wellington straight, just a little bit too far behind once more. I did take a look at the Lotus 79 and its history at Long Beach. Obviously raced there in 1979. 2 of the cars retired. That was Carlos Reutemann and Hector Rabac. Mario Andretti finished in 4th position. Of course, that was back in the day when retirement from F1 was a lot more common than what we see today. Seems like F1 cars of the modern era are bulletproof. O'Brien wide. That for sure will be a 1x incident, so no bonus point for him. Those bonus points might be crucial given the gap that he's got to the likes of Sirot, to the likes of Chris Fowler. This is that crucial momentum that Andrew was talking about, though. Onto the hanger straight. Can Rodriguez get the run? I think he's still a little bit too far behind. He's running out of time. 3 laps to go this time around.
And he's got to be pressing just a little bit harder through Maggots, Beckett's, and then Chapel. I think that run out of Chapel, he's got to nail that one of these times. Michael O'Brien is really taking advantage of Aaron Morgan's draft down the hanger straight. So Rodriguez has to be that much closer to the back of Michael O'Brien if he's going to try and actually make this pass happen. And meanwhile, Arjuna, I just want to say it's been really fun watching Mike Rasmus and Matt Taylor at the front of this field trading fastest laps as this race winds down as well.
That's what I just noticed. The gap has come down, it's grown, it's come down again. It's not over. All it takes is one tiny mistake here for that gap to be a second, for Taylor to be back in drafting range, for things to be blown wide open. Last time around, it was almost, half a second faster for Matt Taylor? Incredible. These drivers really do push each other forward. That's the great thing about championships like this, when it's not a one-horse race, it's not a two-horse race, but a three-horse race. So plenty of intrigue, plenty of drama. I have a feeling it will come down to the double point race at Auto Club, even if Matt Taylor will have an effect one hand on the championship. Morgan not going to give his teammate the benefit of the draft this time around. We've seen that Morgan's made a mistake and taken slowdown penalties before. Can he avoid that? Down into into Maggotts and Beckett's this time around. Rodriguez just a little bit further behind, but that might not be the worst thing in the world. Lets him be a little bit more aggressive, and indeed he closes on the exit of Beckett's, gets the power down nicely. The teammates working together. Not sure how much they're going to be working together. 2 laps to go this time around. O'Brien knows that if Rodriguez is presented with a chance, he is going to go for the send.
Michael O'Brien is definitely in between a rock and a hard place right now. He really doesn't want to affect Aaron Morgan's championship too much as his teammate, but at the same time, he can't ignore just how much pressure he is getting from David Rodriguez here. So he's got to walk a very, very fine line of trying to keep David Rodriguez behind him while trying not to do anything too much to get Aaron Morgan. But at the same time, he does have his own championship fight to worry about, as we've stated before as well. So this is going to be very fascinating to watch just how Michael O'Brien approaches these final 2 laps here.
And so as they come out through the arena section onto the Wellington Straight, let's take a look at that point standings and the way it's shaking up right now. It's close slightly between Taylor and Rasmus. It's not close enough. Morgan has dropped down to 8 points behind as things run. Fowler has cycled in front of Sirois after Sirois' misfortune on pit exit. Still only 4 points between the two of them. O'Brien only 13 points further back. Don't count out Chris Reagan if double points goes his way. Anything is possible, and that's what's so wonderful about a double points finale. It's also a slightly longer race on December 16th to close things out in Fontana, California. White flag about to be in the air. Rasmus last time around went faster. It was a 47.688, but doesn't count as his fastest lap of the race because he strayed a little bit too far. Abused track limits, got that 1x incident point, that crucial incident point that removes a bonus point away from him as well. O'Brien's close enough. O'Brien to the inside, heading into Stowe. Morgan once more defends the outside line, but it's off camber. O'Brien almost washes up into his teammate. Here comes David Rodriguez. He'll look to the inside as they head into that final chicane. Last to the late breakers, and there's contact. Up and over goes Michael O'Brien. David Rodriguez into 4th.
That was very, very close between all 3 of them there, and unfortunately Michael O'Brien gets the worst of that one. Basically, this all started back in Stowe, Arjuna, with O'Brien just wasn't quite assertive enough when he made that move. It checked him up coming down into Vale, and David Rodriguez tries to make the inside work. He goes down, and there's just not enough room. 2 cars into one. It's one of those things where, because the track turns so quickly there, it's very easy for 2 cars to just have a little bit of a miscommunication. Rodriguez pushes just a little bit wide on the exit, and O'Brien almost over top there.
Yeah, and lock up on the left side front for David Rodriguez. That's what pushes him wide, and that's why Michael O'Brien will be feeling rather frustrated. I think that is a bit of an understatement, especially since he lost another position. Ryan Otis coming through across the start-finish line. They were side by side. Otis got the move done heading in towards turn number 1. Great drive, by the way, from our defending champion, back in action in 2021 for only the 2nd time. worked his way from the tail end of the grid up into a top 5 position. But out front and untouched here in Silverstone, he's led from the green flag to the checkered flag. Mike Razmas wins for the second time in 2021. It's his second win on the road course. Razmas conquers Silverstone. He wins the GRAAFix Grand Prix of Silverstone in dominant fashion.
An incredible drive from Mike Razmas, and Matt Taylor doing exactly what he needed to do, coming across the line in second place here, Arjuna. This is exactly the type of race that Matt Taylor needed. His teammate had a little bit of misfortune there, and he finishes in third place for Aaron Morgan. But the top 3 in the championship, 1, 2, 3 in the race, but Mike Razmas is the one cutting into Matt Taylor's lead ever so slightly.
Great race, and hopefully Silverstone now a fixture on a Lionheart IndyCar competition because, well, Lionheart IndyCar, Lionheart Retro, all Lionheart competitions, because both races have delivered some drama. This maybe not drama for the race victory like we saw in the IndyCars. The championship fight has taken another twist, another turn on the run to Fontana, California. 29 laps flew on past, one of the quickest races we've seen in 2021. We were racing for less than 60 minutes time. The Lotus 79 was home at Silverstone. It put on a show. Started with 20 cars. We finished with 17 still out there and circulating. Wait for the final cars to come across the line. But when you think about the setup that these drivers had, Andrew, what do you think about the way that it actually played out, the way it raced? We thought that the rear tires would be tricky. Certain drivers proved us wrong, Richie Hearn on multiple occasions, but ultimately, when someone like Richie Hearn has issues with a car like this, a car that he would be intimately familiar with given his real-world American open-wheel career, it shows just how much of a challenge this Lotus 79 is.
I think it shows what a challenge this car is, but at the same time, it also shows just how good the talent is at the top of this series, Arjuna. The top 6 for so long in this race were within 2.5 seconds of each other, and we saw some great battles, really close racing throughout the field. I think this tire does allow you to follow just a little bit closer, and it produced a lot of great battles. We saw even in the closing stages that 3-horse race for third place. That was incredible to watch, and I think that this car and this tire and this setup produced an excellent combination here today.
And of course, Race Control will take a look at what we saw between David Rodriguez and Michael O'Brien. Also confirmation from Race Control that the contact between Morgan and Sirrah, which is on the entry to pit road in our one and only pit stop cycle, will also be reviewed heading to the post-race celebrations. But speaking of post-race celebrations, let's go ahead then and take a look at our unofficial race results here from Silverstone. So here are these Carnox race results, and it was GRAAFix, LC Motorsports, and Mike Razmas that dominated in Silverstone. 2.7 seconds back, though, the championship leader, Matt Taylor, who continues a strong showing in 2021. He's looking comfortable, but Long Beach up next. How comfortable can you be heading to the chaos of the streets? Aaron Morgan might not be on the podium when all things are said and done, but David Rodriguez might not be either. Question is, will Ryan Otis, the defending champion, cycle his way up to the podium? An incredible drive from Otis, plus 14 on the day, while heartbreak for Michael O'Brien in the closing stages, dropping down to 6th. Chris Fowler had a steady day to finish in 7th alongside Ariel Alanis. Alex Guyon made his way through the field, but his teammate David Sirrah will be heartbroken. Pit road penalty, speeding on the exit of pit lane. Trevor Malone not enjoying the best of weeks. First it was Richmond and the Speedway Series. This time it's the Retro Series here at Silverstone. He finishes in 11th with Richie Hearn down in 12th after multiple spins. Jean-Francois Matt lit the rear tires up coming out of the arena section. He finishes down in 13th. Robert Mikes, Chris Reagan, Craig Forsyth, the last cars on the lead lap. Ricky Harden avoided the wall. He does finish as the only car 1 lap down before we get to our retirees. DJ Clark, Isaac Snyder, Nick DeGruth through 20th position. 20 cars took to the grid in what was our smallest field here in 2021, but they put on a show as they always do. It's time to head then to HyperX Victory Lane and into the HyperX post-race show, because the Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows that we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperxgaming.com, and don't forget to use the promo code Lionheart15, that's LIONHRT15, for 15% off all orders. And so let's go ahead then and talk to our winner in our inaugural race from Silverstone. Back-to-back victories on the road courses for Mike Razmas. Mike, you led from flag to flag, but by no means were you comfortable, especially in that opening stint of the race. Talk to us about how this new tire model feels, how comfortable you felt with it, and how happy you are to be back in victory lane.
Yeah, I can't believe it. That was a really hard race. I mean, talking about the race, I had to save fuel as the leader to make it 15 laps, and the only way to do that was to let off the throttle. And David and the whole Truly train behind me were so close, and I just knew if one of them got by me, the rest of them probably would too. So I had to really focus to get through that first stint. And then the second stint was only 14 laps, so it was a little easier just to push. But I haven't been the fastest all week, so I'm really excited to get this win and to lead every lap. And I think I got pole and fastest lap. It feels pretty crazy. So yeah, happy to be here.
You did indeed, to the clean sweep of the day, the fastest lap of 47.551. Now I have to ask you about the championship, because given how strong this race went for you, you would have been pretty happy. But with Matt Taylor finishing in second, you don't close the gap as much as you would have wanted. What's it going to take here with 3 races left to go to put yourself in a position heading to our double points race at Auto Club to try and win this championship?
It's going to take a lot of practice and maybe even some bad luck on Matt's side, because he's just run so much better than everyone all season, and he's super fast on both the ovals and the road courses. So just going to do the best I can like I did tonight, and hope to get the best results I can.
And so 2 weeks from now, Long Beach. Are you happy about going to Long Beach? How scared are you about Long Beach?
I'm really excited. I did some races in the Lotus there over the last couple, or since it's been released, I guess, and it's really difficult. I don't know if I'll make it all the way through the race, but I'm sure it'll be super fun for everyone.
Congratulations on your 3rd career victory in the Retro Series, Mike, and this championship is looking mighty interesting. We'll see you in Long Beach in 2 weeks' time.
Thanks, bud.
So that was HyperX Victory Lane. That was Mike Razmas. Then to the second step of the podium, where we find our championship leader, Matt. Qualifying was close, so close. You lost out to Aaron Morgan, your teammate, on the start. It looked like you were saving some fuel back in 4th position. When it was your time to pounce, though, you got past your teammate, who got a slowdown penalty. From there, you traded fastest laps back and forth with Razmas. How are you feeling about 2nd place here today?
Considering it was in 4th at the start there, I think that's a really good finish. I think, as you probably saw at the beginning there, we just really couldn't pass each other. Rasmus was able to just stack us up, and it was kind of frustrating, because I think we'd all like to be able to run and make moves and stuff, and the car, I don't know if it was the car and the new tire model or maybe the setup, but we really just couldn't quite do that. Mike saved a ton of fuel there, being able to do that, and then got the jump pulled away, and we kind of stacked up on pit road, and I just could not make up that gap. I was ringing it out for all it was worth, but just couldn't get there. But he drove a perfect race, so hats off to him.
Well, and it was close between you two last time we went road racing at Sonoma, so it must have been somewhat similar given the way that you were trading those lap times back and forth. I do have to ask you now about Long Beach, because that's up next. You have a full race victory in terms of the points gap to Taylor, to Razmas and to Morgan, but heading to Long Beach, you can never feel comfortable. Have you done some laps there? How are you feeling about the racing that we're going to see there?
We ran there in the IndyCar series earlier this season and didn't have a great result, but I like the track. I'm comfortable around it. In a little bit smaller car in this, I think it'll be a ton of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
And I do also have to ask about fighting on multiple fronts. Andrew had talked about how difficult that is to be switching from, this Lotus 79 to the DW12 to the IR18, back and forth, back and forth. How difficult has it been, especially when you're fighting championship fights on 2 fronts? I know Richmond didn't go your way on Monday, but in that Speedway Series, anything is possible. You could win your first Lionheart championship, but maybe not 1, but 2 here in 2021.
Yeah, that would be certainly awesome, and that's the goal. But just trying to be smart and and get the practice in that I can. And I know with the Retro Series, I do have that big gap there, so I can play it at least somewhat safer if I need to. But just driving consistently is what's going to finish this off, and then I think I'm just going to need some luck in that Speedway Series. Been wrecked out of 3 races in a row, so need to turn that around.
Only 2 races left in the Speedway Series, but anything can happen, like I was saying. Congratulations on second here, Matt, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time on the streets of Long Beach.
Thank you, guys.
So that was the Avatar Auto Racing driver of Matt Taylor. Now to his teammate, the final step of the podium, it's Aaron Morgan. Aaron, got to ask you about that slowdown penalty, just pushing the limits a little bit too much, and well, the iRacing automated race control system was ready to ding you.
Yeah, it really came down to the damage I had gotten from the tap I gave David on pit entry. It just made me feel like I had dirty air on the front wing the whole time after that. I mean, I had no high-speed corner speed. Like, it just wouldn't turn on those exits, so I couldn't get out of the exits well. And then especially that one, it's so high speed, I just pushed it a little too hard. It would have worked had I not had whatever damage it gave me, but I just couldn't do it.
And talk to us then about that pit road entry, because it's so difficult. This is one of the slowest pit roads across of the iRacing service, and you're coming in at a pretty hefty rate of not slamming onto the brakes. 6 cars in a line as well. Just misjudged the braking zone, or was there some dirty air as well that affected how the car was performing under the brakes?
I think it was just, it's really hard to say. It's just a stack up, and I thought maybe David would be a little more aggressive on it, get a little bit closer. I know if I hadn't hit him, I was going to get hit just as hard by Matt behind me. I mean, he got, I can't believe he didn't. I didn't feel anything. It was so close. It's just unfortunate. It's just difficult. You know, we're all that close because we couldn't pass, but we could just keep up. And it was unfortunate. Unlucky.
Well, 3 races left to go. Long Beach, Road America, and then to Auto Club. What are you looking forward to close the season off? Still a chance of the championship, but I think it's fair to say the way that Avatar Auto Racing has been going here in 2021, the way Matt Taylor has been going in 2021, you're going to have to almost wish for bad luck for your teammate to be in with a chance, which I know you don't want to do.
Yeah, we've been in that situation for at least a couple races now too. It's just, I've put myself in a deeper hole with this one. I don't really think it's possible anymore. I think I can, of course, go out there and keep trying as long as there's a mathematical chance, but it's hard. I guess my goal now is I just want to at least get another win on the season. I think today was a day I should have won, and I just didn't do qualifying right, because that whole first stint I felt like I could go so much quicker, and then the second I had damage and I couldn't do anything.
Well, unfortunate for you, Aaron, but as always, strong on the road courses. 2 more left to go before our double point finale. I'm sure you're not thrilled about this 3rd place finish, but congratulations on it nonetheless, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time from the streets of Long Beach.
Yep, thank you so much.
So that was Aaron Morgan to complete our post-race interviews, our podium coverage as well. Well, Andrew, first trip to Silverstone, it did not disappoint, but now I am so looking forward to 2 weeks from now when we go to California, we go to Long Beach, back to the US. So much excitement for what is going to be a thrilling race, 64 laps. It is not just the battle amongst these drivers, it's the battle of man versus machine versus the track itself.
An incredible race here from Silverstone. It delivered once again for the Lionheart series, but as you say, Arjuna, I'm really looking forward to Long Beach. It's just this iconic venue in North America. It probably, I believe it's been described before, and I agree with this, as the Monaco of North America, and it really truly is. It's such a demanding track. So the barriers are so close to the track and the racing line, and you've got to be inch perfect. And these championship contenders have been for much of this season, but they're going to have to do it one more time when it counts at a track like Long Beach. It's going to be an incredible race to watch.
And the one saving grace, at least from my perspective, is it's not a full month's gap between our next races. Just a couple of weeks before we go to Long Beach, and then 1 week before Road America. Then it is a full month, unfortunately, before our season finale, that crucial race at Auto Club Speedway. But this season has had plenty of twists and turns. I'm expecting no different with just 3 races left to go in an 18-race calendar. It's time to wrap up things here then from the home of British Motorsports, but before we say goodbye, let's take the time to thank the various partners that make all of this happen. The SimExperience AccuForce Pro V2 is the premier professional simulation racing steering system. The key to its incredible realism is the groundbreaking direct drive motor control system, providing a driving experience that's second only to the real thing. For more information on the entire SimExperience ecosystem, visit simexperience.com. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows that we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperxgaming.com and don't forget to use the promo code Lionheart15, that's LIONHRT15 for 15% off all orders. For sim racers, the Butt Kicker Gamer 2 or Simulation Kit adds the missing driver-to-car connection, bringing more realism to your sessions. By accurately responding to in-game audio, you can feel the track like never before, providing increased vehicle handling and faster lap times. Are you ready for the most immersive experience in sim racing? For more information, visit thebuttkicker.com and don't forget to use the promo code LION2021 for 20% off all orders. Minus 273 is the premier name in karting gloves. Their industry-leading gloves are super lightweight and durable, made of a breathable poly spandex. Whether you're a kart or a sim racer, Minus 273 gives you the control to reach victory lane. For more information on Minus 273's full line of gloves and apparel, visit minus273.biz and don't forget to use the promo code Minus 273 LHRS15 for 15% off all orders. Looking for entertaining sim racing content? Look no further than the DMLC Racing channel. Follow former Lionheart Retro Series Driver of the Year Mark Cohn's racing escapades as he battles for wins and avoids wrecks with cat-like reflexes, all while providing commentary sure to make you laugh, cry, or both. Follow along by subscribing to the DMLC Racing channel on YouTube and like his Facebook page at the DMLC Racing channel. And it's not just them, but so many more that make all of this happen. To learn more about the partners of the Lionheart Racing Series, visit lionheartracingseries.com and don't forget to stay up to date with all things Lionheart on social media across of Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. ESTV has you covered for all your esports needs. Keep up to date with them and follow them across of the TV platforms they show their broadcasts on, and of course RaceBot TV. It's your sim racing action covered. Hit that red subscribe button, hit the bell next to it to get notified every single time we go live with a great sim racing series that we get to cover. It'll be 2 weeks before the Retro Series is back in action from the streets of Long Beach, but plenty more Lionheart Racing Series action is to come on RaceBot TV. Next Wednesday on November 3rd at 10:35 p.m. Eastern, 7:35 p.m. Pacific, the Lionheart IndyCar Series heads to Road America for round 20 of its championship. Adam Blocker is close to making it 4 consecutive championships in a row, but Connor Harrington wants to play the party pooper. Until then, though, on behalf of the entire team at RaceBot TV, for Dougie Beard providing all of our cameras, for my co-commentator Andrew Kinsella, my name is Arjuna Kankipati. Congratulations to Mike Razmas, winner here at the home of British Motorsports.